I'm Jeremy. Today's day 215 of reading. Today reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Let's get started. We're on page 63. Mr. Weasley conjured up candles to light up the darkening garden before they had their homemade strawberry ice cream, and by the time they had finished, moths were fluttering low over the table, and the warm air was perfumed with the smells of grass and honeysuckle. Harry was feeling extremely well fed and at peace with the world as he watched several gnomes sprinting through the rose bushes, laughing madly and closely pursued by Crookshanks. Ron looked carefully up the table to check that the rest of the family were all busy talking. Then he said very quietly to Harry, "So, have you heard from Cyrus lately?" Hermione looked around, listening closely. "Yeah," said Harry softly, "twice. He sounded okay. I wrote to him yesterday. He might write back while I'm here." He suddenly remembered the reason he had written to Cyrus, and for a moment was on the verge of telling Ron and Hermione about his scar hurting again, and about the dream that had awoken him. But he really didn't want to worry them just now, not when he himself was feeling so happy and peaceful. "Look at the time," said Mrs. Weasley suddenly, checking her wristwatch. "You really should be in bed, the whole lot of you. You'll be up at the crack of dawn to get to the cup. Harry, if you leave your school list out, I'll get your things for you tomorrow in Diagon Alley. I'm getting everyone else's. And it might not be time after the World Cup. The match went on for 5 days last time." "Well, hope it does this time," said Harry enthusiastically. "Well, I certainly don't," said Percy sanctimoniously. "I shudder to think what the state of my tribe would be if I was away from work for 5 days." "Yeah, someone might slip dragon dung in it again. Eh, Perce?" said Fred. "That was a sample of fertilizer from Norway," said Percy, going very red in his face. "It was nothing personal." "It was," Fred whispered to Harry as they got up from the table. "We sent it." Chapter 6. The Portkey. Harry felt as though he had barely lain down to sleep in Ron's room when he was being shaken awake by Mrs. Weasley. "Time to go, Harry dear," she whispered, moving away to wake Ron. Harry felt around for his glasses, put them on, and sat up. It was still dark outside. Ron muttered indistinctly as his mother roused him. At the foot of Harry's mattress he saw 2 large, disheveled shapes emerging from tangles of blankets. "It's time already," said Fred groggily. They dressed in silence, too sleepy to talk. Then, yawning and stretching, the 4 of them headed downstairs into the kitchen. Mrs. Weasley was stirring the contents of a large pot on the stove, while Mr. Weasley was sitting at the table, checking a sheaf of large parchment tickets. He looked up at the boys as the boys entered and spread his arms so that they could see his clothes more clearly. He was wearing what appeared to be a golfing sweater and a very old pair of jeans, slightly too big for him, and held up with a thick leather bowl. "What do you think?" he asked anxiously. We're supposed to go incognito. Do I look like a muggle, Harry?" "Yeah," said Harry, smiling. "Very good." "Where's Bill and Charlie and Percy?" said George, feeling a stifle of huge yawn. "Well, they're apparating, aren't they?" said Mrs. Weasley, heaving the large pot over the table and started to ladle porridge into the bowls, so that they can have a bit of a lie-in. Harry knew that apparating meant disappearing from one place and reappearing almost instantly in another, but I have never known any Hogwarts student to do it, and understood that it was very difficult. "So they're still in bed?" said Fred grumpily, pulling his bowl of porridge toward him. And why can't we apparate too? Because you're not of age and you haven't passed your test, snapped Mrs. Weasley. And where have those girls got to? She bustled out of the kitchen and they heard her climbing the stairs. You have to pass a test to apparate? Harry asked. Oh, yes, said Mr. Weasley, tucking the ticket safely into the back pocket of his jeans. The Department of Magical Transportation had to fine a couple of people the other day for apparating without a license. It's not easy. Apparition, and when it's not done properly, it can lead to nasty complications. This pair I'm talking about went and splinched themselves. Everyone around the table, except Harry, winced. Splinched? Said Harry. They left half of themselves behind, said Mr. Weasley, now spooning large amounts of treacle onto his porridge. So, of course, they were stuck. I didn't move either way. Had to wait for accidental magic reversal squad to sort them out. Meant a fair old bit of paperwork, I can tell you. What with muggles who spotted the body parts they left behind. Harry had a sudden vision of a pair of legs and an eyeball lying abandoned on the pavement of Privet Drive. Were they okay? He asked, startled. Oh, yes, said Mr. Weasley, matter-of-factly, but they got a heavy fine. I don't think they'll be trying it again in a hurry. You don't mess around with apparition. There are plenty of adult wizards who don't bother with them. Prefer brooms. Slower, but safer. But Bill, Charlie, and Percy can all do it? Charlie had to take the test twice, said Fred, grinning. He failed the first time, apparated 5 miles south of where he meant to, right on top of some poor old dear doing her shopping. Remember? Yes. Well, he passed the second time, said Mrs. Weasley, marching back into the kitchen amid hearty snickers. Percy only passed 2 weeks ago, said George. He's been apparating downstairs every morning since, just to prove that he can. There were footsteps down the passageway, and Hermione and Ginny came into the kitchen, both looking pale and drowsy. Why do we have to be up so early? Ginny said, rubbing her eyes and sitting down at the table. We got a bit of a walk, said Mr. Weasley. Walk? Said Harry. What? Are we walking to the World Cup? No, that's miles away, said Mr. Weasley, smiling. We only need to walk a short way. It's just that it's very difficult for a large number of wizards to congregate without attracting Muggle attention. We have to be very careful about how we travel at the best of times, and on a huge occasion like the Quidditch World Cup. George, said Mrs. Weasley sharply, and they all jumped. What? Said George, an innocent tone that deceived nobody. What is that in your pocket? Nothing. Don't you lie to me. Mrs. Weasley pointed her wand at George's pocket and said, Accio. Several small, brightly colored objects zoomed out of George's pocket. He made a grab for them, but missed, and they sped right into Mrs. Weasley's outstretched hand. We told you to destroy them, said Mrs. Weasley, furiously, holding out what were unmistakably more tongue toffees. We told you to get rid of the lot. Empty your pockets. Go on, both of you. It was an unpleasant scene. The twins had evidently been trying to smuggle as many toffees out of the house as possible. It was only by using her summoning charms that Mrs. Weasley managed to find them all. Accio! 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 She shouted, and toffees zoomed from all sorts of unlikely places, including the lining of George's jacket and the turn-ups of Fred's jeans. We spent 6 months developing those, Fred shouted as she threw the toffees away. Thank you, everyone. That's all for today. Bye. See you tomorrow.